Yes. Yep. And that's that self-team and community. We can apply it over and over and over again. Who do I want to be first for me? Who do I want to be for my team? However you define team, and then for my community. So that's fun that you and your friend talk about that. It's
Yeah,
a
we
great
always,
practice.
yeah, and we laugh about it, but it's a really good question. So if we're talking about being this more like more authentic and more of a full person, does it help me to define my purpose in life? Do you
Yes.
think that?
Ooh, that was a loaded cannon. Yes, of course. You want me to
Yeah.
go into that just a little bit?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So how do you see that?
Yes. An exercise I do with just about every single room I work with is a visualization exercise, Adi. And I grew up in Minnesota. And for those unfamiliar with Minnesota, it's very conventional Midwest America. And I grew up solidly middle class. We weren't, I'm very grateful for how I grew up. And we didn't talk about mindset. It's not that it wasn't there. We talked about it as attitude. Now, I think those two things are different. If we think about who we want to be, and our purpose and how that relates to who we are, then I invite everybody to think about what is the way that you can reserve time for yourself, get into a routine, even a ritual of reflection, and think about yourself and think, who am I in this world? Who do I want to be? It changes over time. Absolutely. So purpose is elastic. It is mobile because we are elastic. We are mobile. What we wanted when we were 15 is very different than what we want in our 20s, our 40s, our 60s, our 90s. And it's usually related. Like I call it my golden thread. My golden thread is education. I want everything I do in this life to promote and progress education in some way, shape, or form. I'm not worried about what that shape or form is, Adi, because I know that it's going to work. And I know that that's my focus. But when I look at myself, I realize looking in that rear view mirror, I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, that's always been there. Oh, it looked like that. Oh, now it looks like this. It might look like that. My purpose is what drives me. So let what really lights you up, as one of my coaches says, let that purpose really shine through. Again, you're going to attract people who you had no idea, like you and I, case in point, would we have met otherwise? Who knows?
No,
It's possible.
I
This
guess
may be
not.
more probable. So
Yeah.
it's fun to think about purpose. Like, oh, yes, I know what my purpose is. I know what my why is, Eddie. I don't have it on my website. I don't publish it anywhere. I share it sometimes with audiences. I'm certainly happy to share it today. But I realized this years ago because I did an org chart for myself. This is an
Org
interesting,
chart.
yes,
That's
interesting exercise.
tell me about that.
Yeah. So an org chart is generally an organizational chart of what the positions are as they're organized in a company, in an entity. And it generally starts with the top banana and then and drops down and who's underneath and so forth and so on. And a client of mine actually taught me this several years ago, and I use it for myself. Highly recommend. I've even got a video on it, a couple videos on my YouTube channel. You put yourself at the top, you're the top banana, and then I drop it down and I think, what is it that I want to do? So I'm engineering this, Eddie. And I think the purpose is in between me and what I do. And the first time I did this, like it looked like a John Madden drawing. It was like, oh, I want to do this and I've done this. And it was just all scattered and crazy. I'm like, okay, I'm going to put this away. I'm going to sleep on it. I came back to it and I refined it. I'm like, oh yeah, that thing. I don't want to do that thing anymore. Or that was interesting. Or what if I did this instead? It's the permission we give ourselves as connectors, Eddie, as innovators of our own lives to think, oh, what could that look like? So that org chart, I invite people to do I'll send you the link to the video afterwards
Wow.
if we want to share
Sounds
it, because I
good.
found that to be incredibly clarifying. Mine now has been the same for probably 5 or 6 years. I recently revisited it. I shifted it just slightly in how I think about it, but the components are the same. Will they change?
Mhm.
Perhaps. And I'm okay with that because me, my purpose, and how I'm going to bring that forward, my modalities, if you will, of that purpose. And it's very clarifying. It's lots of fun. It's a terrific team exercise to do. But start with yourself first, and I encourage you to try that. So that makes it more obvious. It helps to, and I post this on my wall in my headquarters. I look at it, and that helps remind me to stay on track too, Adi. So if we ever feel like we're the, you know, moth in a room full of light bulbs, like, oh yeah, I could do that thing. Is this the right time? Maybe I'll put it over here instead. Still going to focus on that. So you don't have to worry about ideas that you think are good ones. They'll rise to the surface again, or capture them in a book or whatever. But focus on things that light you up, and use that tool if it's helpful.
And what you're, I'm trying to understand what is the essence, what is like the context. Is it like for my career, for me as a business? Is it like for me as a person, what I want to travel the world? Like, is it everything? What is the context for me as a mother, for me as a spouse, for me?
Sure. So
I,
great question. You can make it as, you can do one iteration, you can do multiple iterations, Eddie. So you could,
Mhm.
if you like to start that way, this is your org chart. I start because I know that that's basically my whole life. My drop down, education is my golden thread, and I speak, teach, and write. That's as simple as it is for me. Now, that's through many
Mhm.
iterations.
Yeah.
So when I'm thinking about my work, but I also apply that in my life, in my non-working life, which there's not a very clear line there, because I love what I do, that I do love to teach. So it might be talking with a neighbor about something. It might be the learning, and that script might flip, that it's learning, teaching, the writing. I love to write, both for all kinds of reasons, thank you notes and all kinds of things. So you could easily, and I have done this before. So if you're like, well, what does it look like for me as a spouse or a partner? Okay, I think that's a really great practice. You can make it what you want. You could have one big one. Here's Adi at the top, and then over here, this is my work at pursuits. These are my personal pursuits. This is who I am. This is this. So it's
Yeah.
very nimble in how you want to do it. What you will
Yeah.
probably find